Where did the name YouGov come from? And what was the story behind its foundation?
Yeah, totally. It was no taxation without representation. Boston Tea Party in 2000, when only about a third of the country had internet access. No one had done an online survey. The initial idea was that you would pay your council tax online, and then you would give your opinion to your local council as to how you want your money spent. We very quickly worked out that actually there are much larger players in systems integration, and what really began to work was the polling element of it. So we pitched the idea to FreeServe at the time, and we became the news channel on FreeServe. We called it interactive news, and we hired a bunch of young graduate journalists and some more mature journalists as well, like John Humphreys and one Boris Johnson, in fact, who used to write for the site. It was then all about basically gathering public opinion. The real success of the idea was the traditional market research companies were still doing, some were still doing clipboard. There's an academic study that sort of, high caliber, the sort of the gold standard, which is called the British Election Survey. It goes around the world. There's the American Election Survey, the Australian Election Survey. And Professor Anthony King, God bless his soul, he passed away a few years ago, noticed us because we contributed to the British Election Survey back in 2001, the first election that we called accurately. And then they gave us our first break with some work for the Telegraph. And from there on, the rest is history.
So you have had quite a non-linear, like not only just education career, but also like political career as well. It's been sort of, it's not always been like going forward.
You've known me for long enough to know that. At one stage, I thought I was going to go from the sort of the rising star to elder statesman with nothing in between. I had, I think it was 7 or 8 years on the back benches. I am the definition of it is a marathon, not a sprint. So many of my intake actually, got promoted very quickly into government, and actually taking a bit more time, spending more time on select committees, on the back benches, I think is invaluable, and has certainly served me well. One of my friends said to me at the time when we began to really succeed with the vaccination program, he said, it will be the first line of your obituary. Most important job I'll ever do. But I think it's important to get that sort of ministerial experience because it serves you well when then you're asked to take on a whole department.
And how did you find the transition from kind of business to politics?
I caught the political bug very early on. I always thought that one day I'll end up in Parliament. And then I was very lucky in being part of the YouGov team and to be able to take that company public in 2004 as well. When you first enter Parliament, is very much like a startup. Each and every member of Parliament, backbencher, is a small enterprise. I arrived in this building and you get handed a laptop, you open it and it's already all logged in with your name, but there's 800 emails saying, you're my member of Parliament, please help. Right? There's a post bag about the same. And so you've got to very quickly put together a small team that can just deal with the casework. But you're a small enterprise because you need to you basically serve your constituents, serve your customers, make sure you deliver for them on time. And you want to try and become famous for something. What is your passion? Obviously, the business select committee for me was the thing to get onto. There are similarities to startup culture. You've got to be able to wake up in the morning and just motivate yourself. I don't believe people wake up in the morning and go to work because they want to do a bad job. They get frustrated if they don't know why you're asking them to do something different, which is why actually much of the challenge is how do you communicate with people to explain to them.
And did you feel it was a risk starting YouGov?
I was a marketing director at the time, high risk to leave my job and obviously do this. Had the really great support from my family and my parents. But I always wanted to be an entrepreneur one day, but it's not without its risks. But I've loved every minute of it.
I suppose, when you've left the country aged 11, starting a business, does it really feel like a risk in comparison?
I hear what you say. Maybe that's the sort of the immigrant in me, that you have a different risk appetite. We need to encourage more entrepreneurs. Although I have to say, this generation is much more in tune with entrepreneurialism, being very comfortable with having multiple careers in their lifetime. I think actually having a device in your pocket does open young minds to the idea of, I can try out some of these things, which is a great thing in my view. In the UK, we're sort of quite good at the startup culture.
Yes.
We are less good at growing businesses and then keeping businesses. British entrepreneurs will sell out and then want to play golf and do other things. The US entrepreneurs will sell out and start the next one almost immediately after that. And the Germans never sell, and they keep these Mittelstands, and they just grow these family businesses. This is something that I know Rishi's passionate about, creating more management maturity to be able to run bigger businesses and keep bigger businesses.
I want to take you back to when we first met,
yes,
because I remember saying to you, what do you want to achieve in politics? What do you want to do? And you said, and it's really stuck with me, that you wanted to be education secretary, and if your colleagues thought you were up to it, you'd like to be prime minister. And is it an ambition you still hold?
I think every member of parliament must feel that they can at some stage put themselves forward. The thing that I really want is to be able to do this job and complete this journey. If I can deliver the same life chances I had to every kid in the country, even those whose parents don't have the wherewithal or have no parents, then I've done something truly great, as big as what we've did on vaccines. So I want Boris to another term, and I want us to have another 5 years, I hope, and really scale and get to 2030 when I can say to you, hopefully, in another interview, that I've actually completed the journey and delivered on that.
But it would be an amazing demonstration, right? Born in Iraq, standing on the steps of Number 10. I mean, it like all the things you want to achieve. And I agree, you've got a long way to go before all of that.
I pinch myself even just thinking about that I am the member of parliament for Shakespeare, the heart of England, right? This is I absolutely passionately believe this is the greatest country on earth.
Yeah.
To have a constituency like Stratford-on-Avon, which is 96, 97% white, affluent, middle class, yet they vote for Nadhim Zahawi as their champion, as their member of parliament. The man they send to Westminster to represent them.
Yeah.
I really, really want to complete this journey.
Yeah.
And I don't want your listeners to if you're passionate about something, you need to be clear about it, and you need to make sure people understand that passion. It's almost like when we were doing the vaccine. Yeah. Every day that went by that we're not vaccinating, then we're losing lives, and I've got to deliver it. Yeah.
And when you did the vaccines, you went totally. I remember speaking to you during the process. Yeah. Right? You were totally nailed on it, because if you got that, then it was other things would fall into place further on.
Yeah, and that's my DNA. I don't like leaving jobs half completed.
Is politics all about ambition? So it should be, but there's this weird thing where people sort of stand back from the brink, like saying, well, I wouldn't want to be prime minister. And I would just remember thinking, and the way you qualified it with your colleagues, even though I was like a 22-year-old at the time, it stuck with me as such a kind of neat way of phrasing it. And it's it's a very interesting prospect. That's as far as I'll go on that side of things. It's been brilliant to have you on. I think that's such a fantastic kind of finish. It's amazing, and it's great to see all the work that you're doing.
Thank you for having me.